I am 82 years old, and I regret retiring. I never thought I would say that out loud, but it is the truth. I spent decades serving patients as a doctor. I saw thousands of lives come into this world. I held hands in the final moments of many. I consoled, I advised, I guided. And one day I stepped away. I believed I had earned rest, peace, freedom. I imagined retirement would be the golden years filled with leisure and joy. But no one told me about the silent aches that follow when your purpose suddenly vanishes. No one told me the mind can weaken faster than the body if it sits idle for too long. In the beginning, retirement felt like a long-awaited vacation. I took slow morning walks, I read books, I watched television, I spent time with family. But as months turned into years, something inside began to shift. The silence of the days grew heavier. My routine became dull. I missed the feeling of being needed. I missed the rhythm of being useful. That is when I began to reflect on the mistakes I made. Not mistakes made in medicine, not in relationships, but mistakes made in how I approach retirement. If you are listening to this and you are nearing retirement or already there, I hope my regrets can help you avoid the same pain. There are 6 things I wish someone had told me, 6 truths that would have changed everything. The first mistake was retiring without a plan for my time. I had a financial plan. That was easy, I saved diligently, but I had no plan for my purpose. According to a study published in the Journal of Aging Studies, individuals who enter retirement without meaningful activities are at a significantly higher risk of depression. The data shows that retirement increases the likelihood of clinical depression by over 40% when not accompanied by structured daily engagement. I didn't see it coming. I thought rest would be enough. But after a lifetime of routine and responsibility, the absence of purpose was like a slow erosion of my spirit. Days blurred together. I woke up with no urgency. I slept with no satisfaction. The human brain is wired for activity. Even small goals can give the soul something to live for. I wish I had created a plan not just for money but for meaning. The second mistake was walking away from community. In the working years, we are surrounded by people. Colleagues, friends, patients, the coffee break conversations, the daily hellos, the small laughter. It all disappears so quickly after retirement, and the loneliness that follows is not just emotional, it is physical. Studies from Harvard's 75-year-long study of adult development confirm that the quality of our relationships is the single strongest predictor of long-term health and happiness. Not money, not fame, not success, but connection. I underestimated how deeply I needed others, not just family, but peers, people who challenged my thinking, people who reminded me of who I was. I should have stayed involved in something, a board, a volunteer group, a teaching position, anything that kept me in touch with others regularly. Loneliness, as research shows, increases the risk of premature death by 29%. I felt that loneliness. I still feel it. It is invisible but heavy. The third mistake was assuming I had nothing more to offer. Retirement often carries the myth that the world no longer needs your skills, that younger generations are better equipped. But the truth is, wisdom has no expiration date. I had decades of experience in medicine, but I tucked it away. Instead of mentoring, instead of writing, instead of speaking, I told myself I had done enough. That is a lie many retirees believe. But purpose is not tied to salary. Purpose is tied to contribution. A study published in Psychological Science found that people who felt they were making a meaningful contribution to others had lower levels of inflammation and better immune function. This is not just feel-good advice. It is biological. Your body knows when you feel useless, and it begins to decay in response. I wish I had continued contributing in small ways. The smallest act of guidance to a young mind can be life-saving, both for them and for you. The fourth mistake was ignoring physical movement. In my working years, I walked hospital halls. I moved constantly. But once I retired, I slowed down. Too much. My muscles weakened. My balance suffered. I dismissed daily exercise as something optional. But after 60, movement becomes medicine. Research from the National Institute on Aging confirms that regular physical activity reduces the risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and even certain cancers. More importantly, it keeps the brain young. Seniors who walk at least 30 minutes a day have a 40% lower risk of developing dementia. I let myself become sedentary. I paid the price, not just in my body, but in my clarity. Movement, even gentle movement, should never stop. I should have respected that. The fifth mistake was believing retirement meant stepping away from structure. Structure brings discipline, and discipline feeds mental sharpness. Without a daily rhythm, I became careless with my time. I would sleep late, skip meals, waste hours in front of screens. That kind of freedom is deceptive. It feels relaxing at first, but over time it strips the day of meaning. I should have maintained a daily schedule. Wake at the same time, eat with regularity, block time for reading, walking, socializing, and reflecting. A structured day creates stability, especially as memory and concentration begin to waver. Studies in the Gerontologist Journal show that retirees with a structured lifestyle report higher satisfaction levels and lower instances of cognitive decline. Our brains crave rhythm, just like the heart. I abandoned mine too early. The sixth mistake, perhaps the most painful one, was retiring without preparing emotionally. No one warned me that retirement would trigger a crisis of identity. For 50 years, I was doctor. I was respected. I was looked to for answers. The moment I stepped away, I became invisible. That shift shook me more than I expected. Retirement is not just a change in schedule. It is a death of an identity. And if we do not grieve that loss properly, it can haunt us. According to a 2020 survey by Age UK, nearly 60% of retirees said they felt their identity was tied to their job and struggled emotionally after retiring. I was one of them. I wish I had prepared for that grief. I wish someone had told me that it was okay to feel lost, that I would have to rediscover who I was without the title. Emotional preparation is not weakness. It is strength. It is wisdom. Today I sit in my garden often. Birds visit. The wind sings. My hands are slower now. My thoughts sometimes take longer to come, but they are still there. Sharp, aware. Regret lives with me, not because I stopped working, but because I stopped living with intention. Retirement is not an end. It is a transition, and transitions must be handled with care, with planning, with heart. If you are listening to me and you are in your 60s or 70s, or even 50s, hear this. You are still needed. Your mind, your hands, your wisdom. Do not vanish quietly. Do not disappear just because the paycheck stopped. Ask yourself every morning, what can I do today that matters? Even if it is small, even if it is unseen. Stay involved. Stay engaged. Keep moving. Keep learning. Keep loving. Life does not end at retirement. It simply changes shape. I am 82, and though I regret parts of my retirement, I am still grateful for the chance to speak, to share, to guide. If these words can help just one person make a better choice, then I have contributed something today, and that is enough. Keep your purpose alive. Keep your soul awake. Retirement is not a break from life. It is an invitation to live differently. Choose wisely. You deserve that. The truth about freedom in old age. Are we being misled? When we speak about old age, there is one word that gets repeated again and again: freedom. We are told that these later years are our time to finally relax, to live without obligation, to go where we want, sleep when we want, eat what we want. They call it freedom, the reward after a life of discipline, duty, and sacrifice. But I want to ask you something today. Are we being misled? Is this freedom truly what it appears to be? Or is it a clever illusion that slowly robs us of purpose, health, and connection? I have been a doctor for over 5 decades. I have watched patients age across time and circumstance, and now I find myself in these very years I once prepared others for. I can tell you this: freedom in old age is not always what it is promised to be. Yes, it is true that many of our responsibilities fade. The job ends, the house is paid, the children are grown. But what no one tells you is that when structure disappears, so can your sense of self. The routine that once gave your day rhythm and your life meaning is suddenly gone. At first it feels liberating, but soon it becomes disorienting. We have been sold the idea that doing nothing is the prize, that idleness is the goal. But research paints a very different picture. A study published in the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who lacked daily structure were at a significantly higher risk for depression and anxiety. The brain is not meant to be still. It needs goals. It needs action. When freedom turns into endless, unstructured time, the mind begins to lose sharpness. Focus fades. Memory weakens. And the worst part is that it happens so slowly that you do not even realize it is happening. I remember a patient of mine, Mr. D'Souza. He retired at 65. A proud engineer, sharp mind, warm spirit. He looked forward to his retirement like a man looks forward to the finish line. For the first year, he traveled, read, and enjoyed himself. By the second year, he began to lose his sense of time. He would wake up at noon, skip meals, stay up late watching television. By the third year, his wife told me he barely spoke during the day. His thoughts became foggy. His doctor assumed early dementia. But when we looked deeper, we saw it clearly. It was not disease. It was isolation. It was purposelessness. The freedom he was promised had become a slow descent into emptiness. There is nothing wrong with rest. Rest is necessary, but there is a difference between rest and retreat. When we retire from work, we must not retire from life. Yet many do. They stop learning. They stop teaching. They stop engaging. That is not freedom. That is quiet surrender. A Harvard study on aging found that individuals who remain socially and intellectually active into their 70s and 80s maintain better cognitive function and emotional health. Those who stopped participating in activities that required focus and interaction declined twice as fast. Freedom also misleads us in another dangerous way. It tells us that we have earned the right to eat as we please, move only when we feel like it, indulge without discipline. But the body in old age is far more delicate than it once was. It cannot afford neglect. The National Institute on Aging has shown that seniors who maintain consistent physical activity routines experience fewer falls, better cardiovascular health, and longer independence. Yet many seniors believe they are free from the need to exercise, free from the need to monitor their diet. The truth is, discipline becomes more important with age, not less. Freedom must be redefined. It must mean the freedom to preserve our health, not abandon it. There is also the emotional cost of this illusion, the belief that we are free to be alone, that we need no one, that we have lived our life and now deserve solitude. But research from the University of California, San Francisco found that 43% of older adults experience loneliness regularly. And loneliness is not just a feeling, it is a medical risk. It increases the risk of early death by 26%. It raises inflammation levels in the body. It weakens the immune system. The so-called freedom to withdraw can quietly become the doorway to depression, decline, and premature death. I am not saying we must all work until our final breath. I am saying that we must prepare not just to stop working, but to keep living. Freedom, real freedom, comes when we are still engaged with life, when we wake with a reason, when we feel useful, when we give and receive love. That is freedom, not the ability to do nothing, but the capacity to choose things that give life meaning. And let me tell you another truth. It is never too late. If you are 70 or even 80 and you feel you have been drifting, you can turn around. Start small. A walk every morning, a call to an old friend, a book that stretches your thinking, a volunteer activity once a week. These are not burdens. These are lifelines. You were not made to sit still and fade. You were made to serve, to grow, to give, even in your final years. I often reflect on a conversation I had with a 92-year-old woman named Leela. She had started teaching music to neighborhood children at age 88. I asked her why. She smiled and said, "Because I got tired of waiting for the day to feel meaningful again." That is real freedom. The power to bring joy into someone else's life. The strength to step forward when the world tells you to step back. Her eyes sparkled. Her memory was sharp. Her steps were steady. And I have no doubt that her choice to stay involved added years to her life. The freedom we are promised in old age is not a lie, but it is incomplete. It is not the freedom from effort. It is the freedom to choose how you continue to live with intention, to choose the habits that nourish you, the relationships that sustain you, the thoughts that uplift you. If we do not choose, life will choose for us, and it rarely chooses well. So I urge you, with all the wisdom I have gathered through years of practice and reflection, do not fall for the shallow version of freedom. Do not believe that aging means disappearing. Use your freedom not to disconnect, but to reconnect, not to escape, but to express. These years can still be your best, but only if you live them awake, with eyes open, with heart engaged, with purpose at the center. That is the truth about freedom in old age. It is not given, it is created, and it is created one conscious choice at a time.